Let me start with something I learned from Benjamin Franklin. A penny saved is a penny earned, but a penny eroded by inflation is a penny lost forever. The average retiree is getting about $56 more per month starting this January. That sounds reasonable until you factor in that $17.90 of that is immediately being deducted for the increased Medicare Part B premium. So right off the bat, your real increase is $38.10, not $56. That's a 32% reduction in your actual purchasing power increase before you've bought a single carton of eggs or paid a single utility bill. This is the kind of mathematical sleight of hand that bothers me because it's not dishonest exactly, but it's certainly not the full truth either. Now let's talk about what this means in concrete terms. For the average retired worker, benefits will increase to about $2,071 per month, up from $2,015 in 2025. If you're an aged couple both receiving benefits, you're looking at an increase to about $3,208 monthly. For a widowed mother with 2 children, it goes to approximately $3,898. These are the official numbers, and they're accurate as far as they go, but they don't tell you about the erosion happening underneath. I've always believed that understanding the second-order and third-order consequences of any change is more important than understanding the first-order effects, and that's exactly what we need to examine here. The Medicare Part B premium increase to $202.90 per month represents something significant that most people aren't discussing. This is nearly a 10% increase from $185 in 2025. For the first time in the program's history, the standard Part B premium has crossed the $200 monthly threshold. Now, if you're someone with higher income, and by higher income I mean modified adjusted gross income exceeding $109,000 for an individual or $218,000 for a couple, you're paying substantially more through what's called the income-related monthly adjustment amount. These adjustments range all the way up to $689.90 per month for the highest earners. The system is means tested, which is something most people don't fully understand. The government looks at your tax return from 2 years prior, so your 2026 premiums are based on your 2024 income. If your income has dropped significantly since then, there's an appeals process, but most people don't know it exists or don't bother to use it. Here's where the mathematics get particularly interesting, and by interesting I mean concerning. A survey conducted by AARP in September found that 77% of older adults said a 3% cost of living adjustment for 2026 would not be enough to help them keep up with rising prices, and they're getting 2.8%. Not 3. The average COLA since the year 2000 has been about 2.6%. We saw spike years of 5.9% in 2022 and 8.7% in 2023 when inflation was running rampant, but those were catching up to inflation that had already eroded purchasing power. The system is inherently reactive, not proactive. By the time the COLA adjustment hits your bank account, you've already been living through the inflation it's supposed to compensate for. This lag effect compounds over time, which is why so many retirees feel like they're perpetually falling behind, because they are. Let me address another change that affects people who are still working while collecting benefits. If you're under full retirement age for all of 2026, you can earn up to $24,480 before your benefits start getting reduced. The government takes back $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn over that threshold. If you're reaching full retirement age during 2026, that earnings limit jumps to $65,160, and they only take back $1 for every $3 you earn over that amount. Once you hit full retirement age, there's no limit at all on what you can earn. These thresholds went up from $23,400 and $62,160 respectively, so they've been adjusted for wage growth. But here's what troubles me about this structure. It creates a disincentive for people to work during exactly the years when they might need supplemental income the most. The marginal tax effect of losing 50 cents of every dollar you earn over the threshold is economically equivalent to a 50% marginal tax rate on those earnings. Add in your actual income taxes and payroll taxes, and you're potentially looking at effective marginal rates exceeding 60 or 70%. That's not a policy that encourages productive behavior. Now let's discuss the taxation side, because this affects everyone who's still working, regardless of whether they're collecting benefits. The maximum amount of earnings subject to Social Security tax increased to $184,500 for 2026. Up from $176,100 in 2025. This is called the taxable maximum or wage base, and it's adjusted annually based on national wage trends. If you're an employee, you pay 6.2% of your wages up to that cap, and your employer matches it. If you're self-employed, you pay the full 12.4%, though you can deduct half of it. What this means in practice is that if you earn at or above that cap, you and your employer are each paying $11,439 into the system in 2026. That's an increase of $521 per party compared to 2025. For high earners, once you hit that cap sometime during the year, your take-home pay effectively increases because the Social Security tax stops. Someone earning $1 million maxes out their contribution by early March and then doesn't pay another dollar of Social Security tax for the rest of the year. This creates a regressive element in what's supposed to be a progressive system, though defenders will argue that benefits are also capped at the high end, so the system balances out over a lifetime. There's one more piece of good news I should mention, though it's temporary and doesn't directly change your Social Security check. A new $6,000 federal tax deduction for Americans 65 and older takes effect with the 2025 tax year, running through 2028. If you're married and both spouses qualify, you can claim up to $12,000 total. This deduction is in addition to the standard deduction and is available whether you itemize or not. It comes from the reconciliation legislation passed in 2025, and it's designed to provide some relief for seniors who pay taxes on their Social Security income. About half of all beneficiaries pay federal income tax on their benefits because of income thresholds that haven't been adjusted for inflation since 1983. If your combined income, which is your adjusted gross income plus non-taxable interest plus half of your Social Security benefits, exceeds $34,000 as an individual or $44,000 as a couple, then up to 85% of your benefits become taxable. Those thresholds were set 43 years ago and have never been indexed to inflation. If they had been, the individual threshold would be over $100,000 today. This is one of those stealth tax increases that happens through legislative inaction rather than legislative action. I want to talk about something that bothers me more than perhaps it should, and that's the disconnect between what people think Social Security is and what it actually is. Most Americans believe they have an account somewhere with their name on it, accumulating their contributions with interest, ready to be drawn down in retirement. That's not how it works. Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. The taxes collected from current workers are immediately used to pay benefits to current retirees. There are trust funds, yes, but they're not funded the way a pension trust fund would be. The Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund and the Disability Insurance Trust Fund hold special issue treasury bonds, which are really just IOUs from one part of the government to another. The latest trustees report projects that the combined trust funds will be depleted by 2035, at which point incoming tax revenue will only cover about 83% of scheduled benefits. That's 9 years away, 9 years. And yet most of the political discussion around Social Security reform involves kicking the can down the road rather than making the hard choices necessary to fix the structural problems. The arithmetic is brutally simple. In 1950, there were 16 workers paying into the system for every beneficiary drawing out. By 1960, it was 5 to 1. Today, it's roughly 2.8 workers per beneficiary. By 2035, it'll be around 2.3 to 1. The ratio keeps declining because people are living longer and birth rates have fallen. When Social Security was created in 1935, the full retirement age was 65 and average life expectancy was about 61. The system was never designed to support people for 20 or 30 years of retirement. The mathematics don't work unless you either raise taxes substantially, cut benefits substantially, raise the retirement age substantially, or some combination of all three. Every serious reform proposal includes these elements in various proportions, but none of them are politically popular because nobody wants to pay more or receive less or work longer. Let me address one more thing that's affecting real people right now, and that's the Part D prescription drug changes under the Inflation Reduction Act. There's a $2,000 annual out-of-pocket cap on prescription drugs that went into effect for 2025 and continues in 2026. That's genuinely helpful for people with high drug costs, particularly those taking expensive brand-name medications. Insulin is capped at $35 per month for Medicare beneficiaries. Recommended vaccines are free. These are real improvements, but they come with a cost, and that cost has shown up in higher Part D premiums. The average base monthly premium for standard Part D coverage is projected to be about $39 for 2026, up from about $37 in 2025. The government implemented a premium stabilization program to prevent these increases from being even larger, providing subsidies to insurance companies of $10 per month per enrollee in 2026, down from $15 in 2025. Nearly all Part D enrollees are in plans that opted into this stabilization program, which tells you that without it, premiums would have spiked significantly. Nothing in healthcare is free. When you mandate that insurance companies provide better coverage, they pass those costs through to consumers in the form of higher premiums, or they pass them to taxpayers in the form of subsidies, or both. Understanding this trade-off is crucial. So where does this leave you as someone trying to plan your financial future around Social Security? First, don't assume that the system will remain unchanged. The 2.8% COLA is based on a specific formula tied to the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which measures inflation for working people, not retirees. Retirees spend a much higher proportion of their income on health care and housing, both of which have inflated faster than the overall CPI in recent years. There have been proposals to switch to a different index that better reflects retiree spending patterns, but they haven't been implemented. Second, understand that your actual spendable income increase is probably less than the headline COLA number suggests, especially once you factor in Medicare premium increases and the taxation of benefits. Third, if you're still working and earning over the wage-based cap, recognize that you're not building additional Social Security credits on those earnings, so from a retirement planning perspective, that income needs to be saved or invested elsewhere. Fourth, if you haven't claimed benefits yet and you can afford to delay, the delayed retirement credits are about the best risk-free return you can get anywhere. Your benefit increases by roughly 8% per year for every year you delay between full retirement age and age 70. That's an 8% real return, guaranteed, inflation adjusted. You won't find that in the bond market or the stock market with zero risk. The broader point I'm trying to make here is that Social Security was designed to be one leg of a three-legged stool, the other two being private pensions and personal savings. But private pensions have largely disappeared, replaced by 401k plans that shift investment risk onto individuals, many of whom don't save enough or invest wisely. And personal savings rates in America have been declining for decades. This means more and more people are entering retirement almost entirely dependent on Social Security, which was never meant to be anyone's sole source of income. The system is being asked to do something it wasn't designed to do, for more people, for longer periods, with fewer workers supporting each beneficiary. Something has to give, and it's going to give in the next decade one way or another. Being prepared for that reality means understanding exactly what you're receiving now, what you're likely to receive in the future, and what you can control versus what you can't. The $56 monthly increase sounds nice, but after Medicare takes its cut and inflation takes its toll, you're treading water at best. That's the honest assessment. That's what actually changed in January 2026, and that's what you need to know to make informed decisions about your financial future. The math doesn't lie, even when the headlines try to make it sound better than it is.